Vayehi li Yeshua Ozi V'zimrat Yah 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 Vayehi li Yeshua. Boker Tov, good morning. Another beautiful day outside, other than the allergies that are present for many of us. But the sun is shining. It is, the way of the world is crazy, but you need to accept that which is opening your eyes to see the beauty in a passing moment. And so this week's Parsha, this week's learning, because it's Wisdom Wednesday, so that means there's a little bit of learning for today. Our Omer counting is going beautifully, and it's time to attach Torah and Omer and just being together in community. So this week's Parsha is Shmini, meaning eighth, and we learn a little bit from this Parsha. There's a lot of different things within this reading, and so we'll unpack a little bit of that today. This is based off a teaching by another rabbi. His name is Justin Goldsmith, I believe. Just one second. Just want to check the name. I don't want to give you the wrong information. Oh, my phone is stuck. Anyway, it is a colleague's teaching that I've adapted. When communication is at the core of the community. There was a Irish playwright and writer who said once that the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Communication, as we know, is the foundation of community. Words shared by all or many. We learn in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers, but parents, that it says, I think it's chapter 3, I don't know which verse, but it's definitely chapter 3, that says, two who sit and have words of Torah between them, the divine presence or oneness or God is between them. Two who sit and have words of Torah between them is a dwelling place for oneness. When we say Torah, I think this is something that's confusing to especially young learners. When we say Torah, they think, or many people think, we're talking about the actual 5 books of the scroll of the Torah. But rather, euphemism for the Jewish way of life and Jewish values as a whole is Torah. One is very literal, and one is this kind of opening that allows us to find conversation beyond the 5 books. Midrash says that decency precedes Torah. Decency, derech eretz, precedes Torah. Because at the core of the community and at the core of communication is decency, right? You got to be decent in order to find yourself even in conversation, even in sacred learning. You got to be a decent person in order to sit down and say, wait a second, let me see how I can unpack this, whether it is Torah as in the book or Jewish values and way of life as a whole. so much of the breakdown in our political world or the political process or the breakdown in public discourse is chalked up to the era in which we're living, which is social media. It's literally like having separate conversations, but having conversations with no one. We give precedence to viewpoints to which we already adhere and find ways to dismiss the ideas that seem to constrict and contradict what we already believe, simply because we saw it somewhere. And yet, all while that's happening in this echo chamber phenomenon, in this like way where we just share information on social media, there's never really a real conversation. But yet, Jewish tradition encourages us to communicate openly and share ideas, even when they contradict. And more importantly, is to seek and to learn perspectives which don't conform to our own. Now, that seems foreign to some of us, right? Most times we do not want to learn about anything else other than what we know or what we deem to be truth. But in learning is in having conversation with others, which is to have the decency of heart to say, hey, wait a second, I don't think I agree, or I don't know if I agree, or I'm not even sure what you're really talking about, but let's talk about it. The emphasis is in Talmudic tradition that says, why did the house of Hillel merit to have the law affixed according to their perspective? And it says, because they were pleasant and patient, and they taught both their own perspective and that of the house of Shammai. Not only that, but they actually gave precedence to the perspective of the other before their own perspective. It was to say, this is the way they do it, and this is the way that we do it. In this week's Parsha, there's a similar lesson to this. In the beginning of the Torah portion, we read about Nadav and Avihu, the sons of Aaron, the sons of Aharon, the priest, who bring upon this strange fire. Whether there is, of course, when you translate things from Hebrew to English, and then you put your own understanding upon it, there's lots of varying translations and interpretations, of course. They were either not commanded to bring this fire, or perhaps they were commanded not to bring. Ultimately, whatever it was, Nadav and Avihu were consumed by the fire. The sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, each man took his own censer. This teaches us that each one of them acted alone. They didn't communicate with one another. They entered without communication. And they were consumed. Because they didn't follow the protocol. They just did what they wanted to do. When we seek to find or to create community in grounded values and in decency, it always seems, maybe not always, maybe that's a little over the top, but often seems that we view those who share a different perspective as an enemy or an adversary. Just because we don't agree, just because your perspective may be different than mine, doesn't mean that you're an enemy or an adversary. It doesn't. And so when we find time for conversation and have the presence of oneness upon us, then we realize that even in those conversations that are difficult, that is community grounding. That we're finding a place of value and decency. Jewish tradition comes and pushes us to see beyond the white and black or the black and white dichotomy. It is to step into the gray and find our truths. There are viewpoints that contradict our own. I say it all the time, you've heard it before. It's not just the black ink on the whitish parchment. It's the space between. It's the graying out between. That is where we find those truths. In a time such as this, we see the breakdown of communication before our very eyes. It becomes all more important for us to commit ourselves to this open dialogue and communication, but as long as we're able to do it grounded in decency and respect. We have to remind ourselves that our communities are shared by all or many, right? So we talked about in the beginning of this talk, which is the word community and communication comes from communis, meaning shared by all or many. And so we have to realize that our communities are built on shared communication, built on shared community, built on shared moments and dialogue and conversations by all of us, by many of us, but by more than one yourself. And it is precisely in the gray area of this array, this diversity of viewpoints, that we find those words of Pirkei Avot and the divine presence. They are the words that say, two who sit and have words of Torah between them, God, oneness, divine presence is between them. That is our reminder to have, like it says today, day 10 of the Omer, balance within strength, to ferret Shebegevura, to say, you know what, there's time to yield, there's time to push forward. There's this idea that we need to be willing to hold our judgments lightly so that our generous hearts allow us to see clearly and guide us to say that there are values that might be difficult and different from what is ours, but where is the beauty in this? The beauty is in listening deeply to the strengths of our hearts, because when we are together, God's presence, too, is with us. Beloved friends, I'm going to see you back here tonight at 9:30 so we can continue counting the Omer. We can continue being together. We can continue to learn from one another. Thank you for being with me, Anne and Shuli, Paula, Amy, Linda, Suze, Elisa, Jennifer, anyone else who is on here that hasn't checked in. How beautiful it is to learn with one another. We are one human family, one heart of abundant love. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you tonight at 9:30. And if you're not an Omer counter, come and join me. And if you are, welcome back. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30. Have a great day, everybody. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Or Avinu Chai.